This is Brian Toller with Toller Capital Partners, and he works with UAC on legislative issues. What is the situation with the current legislative session?
Well, it was so strange that back in March when all of this hit, the legislative session just came to a screeching halt. We were 29 days into the session and they just shut doors and basically ran us off. That was 9 weeks ago. When it came to a stop, it really shifted the whole schedule for the rest of the year. So now we're waiting for the restart, and we expect that that's going to be sometime in early to mid-June. They're talking about June the 11th. We don't know for sure.
Well, certainly, and the major piece of work that they need to get back and get settled is the budget. So regarding the state budget, what should we be looking at? What should we be keeping our eye on?
You know, back in March, the budget actually was starting to look really good. We had seen strong economic data coming in for February, and it looked really good in March. And actually, March numbers from a tax revenue standpoint for the state were very strong. But then, you know, everything hit. And so when you start looking ahead to how do we get through this, you know, the month of April was down over 35% compared to the April of last year. It's hard to recover that type of a drop off. And so that's the challenge, not only for April, but what is it going to be in May and June and moving forward. So that's what lawmakers are facing. They originally planned on a $29 billion state budget, the biggest budget of our entire history. And now they're looking to shave $3.5 to $4 billion off of that, getting down to around $25 billion. This time, no one is exempt. Everyone is going to have to propose cuts of 14% to their budgets and present that to lawmakers in the coming weeks.
Wow. You know, I know that everybody was squealing when they were talking about 4% and 6%. It's not going to be pretty down there at all. You know, since the economy has taken such a huge hit in every area, you know, how do you think it's going to impact the state moving forward?
Well, it's going to be huge. I mean, one thing that's really disappointing for us is, you know, from a UAC standpoint, we have been advocating, of course, as we always do, and pushing for support for extension programs, extension facilities, all those things that lend into the education and research aspects of what we need for the UAC membership. And the House budget that was passed was really strong. I mean, there was funds in there for extension staffing. There were expanded roles for growing extension agents and research, and all of that now changes. So when you look at this across the board cut, it's going to impact certainly all of the university system, including extension. Also, it's going to impact the Department of Agriculture, those inspection services that we need at nursery operations and for getting pesticide products registered and making sure fertilizer components are meeting their standards, but also the Department of Natural Resource issues, you know, working with EPD on water-related matters as we've done for so many years. Well, they're going to take a hit. The Department of Transportation, keeping our roads up to date, and obviously the K through 12 and higher ed, that's the biggest part of our budget anyway. And so there's going to be huge impacts for everybody. The good news is the state does have a rainy day fund, and the rainy day fund will cover some of this. It's about $2.6 billion. A lot of that's going to have to be used in just the next couple of months, though.
I was reading in the newspaper some comments by the state economist, Jeffrey Dorfman, about that rainy day fund, that Governor Deal left office with that in a healthy place. So, yeah, that is a good thing for the state, but it's not the magic bullet.
Dr. Dorfman has done a tremendous job. Of course, he has an ag background from the University of Georgia, and so serving as a state economist, he has his finger on the pulse of what's happening for our industry interests as well, which is a really good thing, and I'm glad we have that relationship. But as he has stressed in the meetings that have taken place with the leadership of the appropriations committees in the House and the Senate, is really there's one key to moving through this process, and that is consumers. Consumers are the key to our recovery. And so what we've seen over the last 8, 9, now heading into 10 weeks, is that there's been a tremendous shift by all of us. We're all guilty, right? We're all guilty of moving to online shopping. Thankfully, the state passed a bill earlier in this legislative session that helps to make sure that taxes that were due, not a new tax, but taxes that were due on online shopping are now being collected. And so that's going to help offset the losses to the state budget. But that's one of the slim upsides. Until consumers get comfortable with staying at hotels and going back to stores and making purchases, going and sitting down in restaurants and doing that dining and hospitality type activities, getting back on airplanes, taking public transportation, and going shopping and even going on vacation. Until those things happen, then the economy is going to struggle. Now, ironically, during all of this, the tax revenue generated from tobacco and alcohol has actually gone up. So those sales are strong. And some people will probably understand that very clearly as to why that is. But the reality is, until consumers get back on board, feel safe going out and getting back to a quasi-normal life, then the economy is going to struggle to recover.
Well, we certainly don't have data yet on how this has impacted the landscape and turf and horticulture industries, but anecdotally, the majority of them have, said that their business has been strong, that they continue to take on new projects. The difficult part is labor.
We know as an industry that it didn't matter if we were at 18% unemployment or 3% unemployment, we still had trouble finding workers. There's a lot of people out there now that if you want to look at social distancing, we know that our industry provides a lot of jobs that provide for social distancing. It can be done, and they're good jobs, and it's a great industry.
Well, we appreciate your daily monitoring of the situation, both at the state and local and federal level, of the issues that affect our industry and our association. We've been together a long time, and it is very helpful in times of crisis like this to have this relationship.
Yeah, well, thank you, Mary Kay, and thank you to the UAC membership. I think the engagement that you have had and their response to your outreach it's been tremendous. It's exactly what you want to see in a true trade organization. It's not about a top-down, it's about everyone being involved, and that has really stood out. Even in a very difficult, challenging time, that has really stood out. So I commend you and I commend the membership for that engagement, because sticking together and having those vested relationships, as you mentioned, with lawmakers as well as with other state leaders, that's what's going to help all of us. And so that's our goal, and we're getting there day by day.
Sounds great. Look forward to seeing you in person sometime soon, my friend.
Yeah, thanks, Mary Kay. Appreciate it.